Hi, this is Roger Balzer, Balzer Wealth Management. Welcome to my 2 cents. Alrighty, nerds, it's time to put on our thinking caps, fill up our pocket protectors. If you turn on the financial pornography channel or read a news article, you may hear the term inverted yield curve. First things first, what is an inverted yield curve? An inverted yield curve is a description of the comparison between the 10-year Treasury note yields and 2-year Treasury note yields. Those are the only two instruments that matter here with what we're talking about today. If anyone else says an inverted yield curve is some version of some other sets of instruments, then take away their nerd badge. They're out of the club as of right now. So for instance, if the 10-year is yielding 2% and the 2-year is yielding 2.5, then the curve is inverted by 0.5%. Now inversions are weird because a curve should normally shift upwards. Short maturities should yield lower amounts than longer maturities because investors, they typically hedge the risk that the rate of inflation will be higher than shorter rates in the future, thereby commanding a premium for risk. Now, a normal yield curve, it should basically look like this, where on this side you've got your interest rate, and on this side down here you've got your maturity. Now, technically, it should go like this. Now, you expect to get a higher yield or interest rate on a longer term bond. But when it's inverted, basically, it looks like this. Now, this brings me to what really drives interest rates. Well, the 2-year is essentially a Federal Reserve controlled note. The Fed has a precise control over short-term rates because it's the monopoly supplier of reserves to the banking system, and it sets the interest rate, short-term interest rates. The Fed basically tries to guess what inflation is going to be in the future. Now, they don't control long-term rates because they let them, the termists, float. So the long-term rates controlled mainly by bond traders who are trying to guess what the Fed will do next, which is an indirect guess about what inflation is going to do next. Might be helpful to think of the Fed like they're walking a poorly trained dog on a long leash. They control their leash precisely at the short end and less, so at the long end, but the control at the short end is based on how well they can guess where the dog's pulling them in the future. So they appear to be walking the dog, but the dog really walks them to a large degree. Now for the good stuff. Are inverted curves, are they scary? This is a question that really doesn't have a clear answer. On the one hand, the curve is inverted before virtually every post-war recession. The Fed, they take it very seriously as an indicator of economic health. On the other hand, the evidence outside of the USA, it's kind of mixed. Personally, I think it's better to think of the yield curve for what it is. Basically, it's a relative view of inflation. So when the short end is higher than the long end, the Fed's basically saying they see a higher risk of inflation than what the bond traders are seeing at this time. And since the 2-year yield is somewhat low to begin with the inversion, it's an indicator that inflation is declining and economic growth is softening. We're getting less economic growth. It's just a market price that reflects a softening of economic expectations. Again, just a market price that reflects a softening of economic expectations. Importantly, it's not helpful to view the yield curve like as an on-off switch that many people do, and you'll be hearing that a lot again on the Financial Pornography channel. The economy, it's not screwed just because the yield curve inverts. Again, it's a relative measure, so that it's better to view it as an indication that economic growth is slowing to what it has been. So going back to our previous analogy, you can think of the inverted yield curve as a situation, basically the dog's slowing down and you're moving closer to it. Your rate of pace has continued the same and the dog has slowed down. This might spell the end of your walk or just a slowdown of the pace of your walk. It doesn't mean the dog is going to die and it's going to keel over and it's going to be the end. Now, a recession doesn't even happen for 19 months on average after the yield curve inverts. And the S&P 500, well, it actually peaks a year after the curve inverts. So we might be in the ninth inning, but there are still runs to be scored here. I hope you find this information helpful. I look forward to your feedback as always. Please send me your comments via email to roger@balzerwealth.com or shoot me a text at 440-610-3012. Please know that I read and respond to each and every one of them. That's roger@balzerwealth.com or 440-610-3012. Look forward to hearing your comments and talking to you about it. Thanks for watching, and make it a great day.